think when we had the album recorded, the tracks that are naturally fitted together have made the album, but we've got about 5 tracks that are equally as strong. So we thought we'd release an EP as a pre-album sampler, so the fans not only get all the album tracks, but they get 4 or 5 other brand new songs as well. And rather than just release it as a mini CD, which is quite, you know, when it comes to pressing CDs and giving, that's not really that popular anymore. So I thought we'll do a split CD and try and get another band to also put on exclusive material. And I just thought, what is going to be very Meads kind of release that's going to be completely different? So I thought we'd try a Chinese band, and I've been in contact with a few Chinese bands because I'm very much into that kind of new heavy metal folk orientated stuff that they seem to be doing a lot, like Nine Treasures for one, Tanika Calvary or another. There's loads of them. And this band's Song of Chew was someone I approached, and they just happen to have an album coming out I think at the end of the year, but they're donating on it 5 songs that are exclusive to this split. So hopefully, you know, both bands are bounced off each other.
As I was writing and presenting the songs to Metatron, we, you know, trying to decide whether or not to have a concept or not. We decided not to, after the last 2 albums, be, you know, having very heavy concepts. We decided this time around, no, let's change it up a bit, do something different for the 20th anniversary, and let each song really stand on its own world. Applies for both the EP and the album. All the material for the EP and the album were written in that same session. We were also thinking of possibly a double album, but in the end we decided an EP preceding the album. Started writing in 2016 through to 2017. Took a couple of years to write the album. A couple of the tracks were from just after the Sonderkommando album was finished, and half another track which we completed in that 2-year period. Having a concept this time round, as I was writing, made a difference after the last 2 albums. Gave me a lot more area just to free flow and see what came out.
Well, the lyrical concept was going to be about the Middle East, pretty much as a focal point, just like the Sonderkommando album was and the Jesus the Jew album was. So the whole kind of every song and all the lyrics would be entwined in that one subject. But when I started looking into it, and you know, after quite a few months, years even, because it all relates really to Sonderkommando and to the Jesus the Jew album in one way or another. It could have been like the end to a trilogy, because the Palestinians, the Jews, they both feature in both of them albums, and their history from the Jesus the Jew to now is relevant. But I could not for the life of me think of an ending to that concept, because I don't know the solutions to the problems, and even why they're occurring is, no, everyone's got their own take on it. There isn't really an answer. So I decided to lyrically just go back to how we used to do it on the first 3 albums, and it opened up a complete, you know, because I'm not focused on any one theme. There is a track about the Middle East, there's a track about North American Indians and Africa, and I think it gave James a whole new scope to just let out whatever, because we had no constraints with this. And I think what's come out of it is a very melodic, different, certainly, I think, maybe less dark, certainly, than the last 2 albums. And I think that fun element that we had has come back, and I think this new album is some of the best stuff we've ever done.
That's what we want this album to be, something truly substantial, something for the fans to really get their teeth in, and you know, something to really mark the 20th year. hopefully we'll give you all that, and you'll enjoy it, and everything around it, just to help us join in the band we love.
If the band is within you and you're not solely existing for, as a, financial gain, especially now, I think you can do, you can create art in a form of music, and for myself, lyrical art, because the lyrics to me are just as important, for as long as it takes. If your heart's in it, that's what you do. Even though you start from the days of like tape trading and roll into this modern age, I think a lot of us old school people, although we've been bemoan it, you've got to roll with it, which is however difficult that is to do, and it certainly isn't easy, because with social media you get a lot of people with opinions that used to just, you might write me letters or scream them at you, but nowadays everyone's so vocal and people are so touchy, and people can get easily offended, and it's a whole different kind of existence for music to be in, but it's what it is. The album is originally going to be about Palestine, but rather like Sonderkommando and Jesus the Jew, but it was too complicated for me to do it any justice, so we've done this one track for this EP that basically skirts across Palestine, the Jews, the Palestinians, and it's like a conundrum of hate, and there's a key to the problem, but it's lost because there is no hole for the key to go. So it's, the Jews will probably win this whole argument, and the Palestinians will probably not be around much, to my sadness, because I think most Palestinians want peace, and I think most Jews want peace, but it's the extremists of both that cause all the grief, and it's a never-ending problem that too complicated politically and demographically and historically. You could argue this to the ends of time, so I've just give a lyrical overview on my thoughts of the lot, religion being the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they're all roots from the very same kind of seed, and to me it's all nonsense, but obviously to millions of people it's all relevant, and that's just an opinion, but that's my opinion, and that's what the Meads have flirted with from the very beginning. Again, just skirting across Africa, another complete mess created by the West, but it's the evolution of the human race, and somebody was going to try and colonise the world one day, and it just happened to be Europe because they were the more advanced. And now, once World War II had ended, from Burma to, I suppose, most of the countries, India and most of Africa, in the end wanted their own independence, but they gained independence of a country raped of their riches and their identity, and they're all, just smacking each other in civil war, tribal conflicts. Islam and Christianity again have appeared, and Africa is just wallowing in a pit of shit with that, and it will continue to happen until Islam goes the way of Christianity, and it surely will, and once these three religions die, which they surely will, not in my lifetime, not in my children's lifetime, not in my grandchildren's lifetime, but in the end it has to die by default, and maybe 300, 400 years time, I think the world if it survives, which I'm sure it will be a much nicer place, because people will be using their brains rather than their hearts, which sometimes can lead you into all sorts of shit. A very strange track. Lyrically, you know, I thought of an angel that was between heaven and hell, light and dark, good and bad. And he's got one eye, which means he can't see the full picture of what's going on in the world, which nobody can. And it's just kind of him reminiscing and giving his take on what he sees and what he is. Sometimes I think we all feel that way if we're inclined to think at all, which I think 90% of the population of the world are ignorant by no fault of their own, but they just want to wake up, look at the sky, eat, sleep, fuck and die. They don't really see anything of the world beyond the bridge of their nose. It's when you start to question the world beyond the bridge of your nose, and if you literally absorb the geography and races and the history, which takes a hell of a long time, you end up looking at something that is really probably why 90% of the world don't bother, because it seems like a pointless exercise of human suffering and bollocks, which again I can't see changing, because humans fuck each other up when they were cavemen, and they will more than likely be fucking each other up when I'm long gone. A surreal track. The lyrics really, you can take what you want from it. The potter's field being a kind of throwback to Judas when he was given 30 pieces of silver in the gospel stories. You can read what you want into that. But he threw the silver back, and they bought a field, a potter's field with it. So it's a pretty shit field of betrayal. And you know, when my studies of Christianity and that kind of thing, so, you know, Jesus certainly existed, and no doubt a lot of what he did historically was true, but that's just a song really about that, so you can read into that wherever you like. You know, you go on Google and you punch the Meads of Asphodel in, racism comes up quite often. It's incredible, but because we touch on such subjects, I've no doubt that we will be embroiled in all that shit. But you know, if anyone thinks that we're a racist band, they can fuck off.